Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do reverse percentages. So all that means is that you're trying to find the original amount after it's been increased or decreased by a certain percentage. Okay, there's two ways I'm going to show you. One of them is using our decimal multipliers, which you should have seen in all my other percentages videos. And the other one's using what we call the unitary method. So I'll show you both, and well, pick one, or by all means, if you can't do a question with one of the methods, you've also got another one up your sleeve. So I'm going to start off with the decimal multiplier one for this first example. So in a sale, items are reduced by 20%. A TV costs £220 in a sale. What was its normal price? Now, if you've seen my increasing and decreasing videos, this will be familiar. So if you haven't, definitely give that a look. So if I want to decrease an amount by 20%, I start off with 100%. I take away 20%. And that gives me 80%. And as a decimal, that would be 0.8. Okay, so that's my decimal multiplier. So if I had my normal price, I'm going to call it X because that's an unknown value. I don't know what it cost at the start. I'll call it X. So I'll take X and I would times it by 0.8 to decrease it by 20%. Okay, I'd take my amount, I'd times it by 0.8, and then I would get what the reduced cost is. Now in this particular question, we know what that is. It's 220. Okay, so I'll have my normal cost of the TV. I'll times it by 0.8, and then it would decrease it by 20% to 220. So all I've done here is formed an equation, and then I would just rearrange it. If I'm timesing by 0.8, I do the opposite, so I divide by 0.8. Don't forget both sides. So X, or the normal amount, would be 220 divided by 0.8. So definitely going to be a calculated job here. So 220 divided by 0.8, £275. Was the cost of the TV beforehand. Does it make sense? Well, 275, decrease it by 20%, so you can always check this. So find 20%, so 20% times by 275 is 55. So if I take 55 away from 275, does it work? 275 minus the 55, yeah, I get back to 220. So always check your answers. Does it make sense? Okay, so that's using decimal multipliers. The other way you can do it is using what we call unitary method. The start is still the same. I've got 100%. If I take away 20%, I'm left with 80%. So we know that 80% equals £220. Because that's the value of the TV in the sale. So this equals 80%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what 1% is, because once I know what 1% is, I can then find out anything. So how do I go from 80 to 1%? Well, if you divide it by itself, anything divided by itself gives you 1. So 80 divided by 80 will give me 1. I'm going to do the same thing over this side to keep it balanced, or to keep it equal. So 220 divided by 80, and I'm going to have 2.75. I should keep my pound sign there. So 1% is 2.75 pounds. I don't know what 1% is. I want to get back to the original amount, and the original amount is 100%. So to go from 1 to 100, I times by 100. So I do the same thing here, and I times by 100. So 2.75 times by 100. Don't need a calculator for that, 275. So as you can see, I get the same answer either way. As I say, it doesn't matter which method you use, as long as you show clear working of how you do it, you'll get the marks, no worries. Let's have a look at the little one then. So Ben got 68% on a test. If he got 170 marks, what was the test out of? So 68% is what he got. So what's 68% as a decimal? So 68% as a decimal is 0.68. Okay, so what was the test out of? Again, I don't know, so let's call it x. It's the unknown. That's what the test is out of. So I would do x times by my multiplier of 0.68, because that will tell me what 68% is, and we know what 68% is. It's 170 marks. Again, I've formed my equation. I'm going to rearrange it. Times them by 0.68, so I need to do the opposite and divide by 0.68 both sides. And therefore, let's have a quick butchers. 170 divided by 0.68, 250. So the test is out of 250. And again, you can check it by working out 68% of 250 and checking it's 170. Using the unitary method, well, we know he's got 68%. And we know that equals 170 marks. Okay, and again, I'm just going to find out what 1% is. So to do that, I divide by itself. So I divide by 68, and I do the same thing over here. Okay, so 170 divided by 68 is 2.5 marks. And then obviously I don't want 1%, I want to get to 100% to work out what it's out of in total. So I times by 100, and I do the same thing here, times by 100, which will obviously be 250 marks. Okay, so again, two different ways, whichever way you prefer, use it. I've got one last example, guys, of when we increase and decrease at the same time. So just bear with me a second while I grab that sheet out. Here we go. So a new toy has just been released. The toy went up in value by 16%, so it's increased by 16% in the first year, and during the second year it fell, so decreased by 9%. It now costs £131.95. How much did it cost at the start? So there's two things going on here. It's increasing by 16% and it's decreasing by 9%. So again, I'm going to show you both ways, starting with the decimal multiplier. So the first thing I'm going to do is work out the decimal multiplier for increasing by 16%. So 100% plus 16% is 116%. And then what is the decimal? I'll convert that to a decimal, 1.16. The next one is a decrease of 9%. So 100% minus 9% gives me 91%. What's that as a decimal? 0.91. So what you can do now is work out your overall decimal multiplier. So all I do by that is I just times these two together. So 1.16 times 0.91. If I times them together, I'm going to get my overall multiplier, which is 1.0556. Okay. So, how does that help me? Well, if I knew that the toy, let's call it X, that's the value of the toy at the start. If I times it by my multiplier, which I just worked out, that would be increasing it by 16% and decreasing it by 9%. And I know the value I would have at the end of that would be 131.95. And again, I just rearrange it by dividing both sides by 1.0556. And then we see what the toy cost at the start of the year. So £131.95 divided by 1.0556, 125. Okay, so that's the decimal multiplier way. And now let's have a look at the unitary way. So this one's a little bit longer, but it's not a problem. So again, we're going to go backwards now. So if I had 100% and take away 9%, I get 91%. So 91% equals this amount here, £131.95. Exactly the same process. I'm going to find out what 1% is worth by dividing by 91. So let's do that. 131.95 divided by 91 gives me 1.45, but I want to know what it is at 100%. So I times by 100 times by 100, which will give me 145. So that's reversing the year. So after the first year, this is what it's going to be, £145. So now I need to go backwards and get rid of that 16%. So again, if I had a toy and it went up in value by 16%, exactly the same over here, 100% plus 16% is 116%. So the new one, to go backwards one more year, is saying 116% equals 145. Okay, and obviously exactly the same thing, find out what 1% is worth by dividing by itself. So divide by 116. Divide by 116. What do we get if we do that? 1.25. And obviously we want to know what it was at the very beginning, which was 100%. So I times by 100 times by 100, which is 125. Okay, pounds. So again, either way, absolutely fine. This one, just working your way backwards. This one, working out the overall multiplier and then putting it into your equation again. So hopefully that helps with reverse percentages, guys. Thanks for watching.